Today on the podcast, we have Arsenal and Lionesses attacker Beth Mead. Beth is the all-time assists leader in the Women's Super League in England. After winning the Euros with England in 2022, Beth won the Golden Boot, the Player of the Tournament, and then went on to become the first female footballer to win the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Her autobiography was the Sunday Times Autobiography of the Year in 2023. Beth is one of my favorite players to watch, and I'm so happy to have her on the show today. Beth, welcome to the Women's Game.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to chat with you. First things first, I want to know about Myle, your dog. It was the first thing I asked Viv about when she came on the podcast, and then I saw on your Instagram that Myle just turned 1, so happy birthday, Myle.
Thank you. No, she's great.
Is she just, do you just freaking love her so much?
So much. So much.
I saw that all her birthday decorations were pink, and I want to know if Miley's like a girly dog. Like, tell me about her personality.
She definitely isn't a girly dog. I think some people always go, him or her? So I was like making sure everyone knows it's her first birthday. But she is like a little bit of, she's a bit quite small.
Okay.
And she's fully grown now, so she's smaller than we thought she would be, which is great. She's so cute and sweet, but she holds her own. A big dog comes her way, she's going for them. As in, like, not in a nasty way, as in, like, she holds her own when she's playing.
Yeah.
Bundled over. She's a bit of a tomboy, actually.
Yeah, she's a little bit feisty.
Yeah, she is.
Do you know that I have a little dog, too?
I do know, but what type is yours?
He's a Cavapoo. His name is Finn.
Oh.
So he's like a little poodle-y. He's so cute.
They're the best things ever. I have her a lot at the moment, obviously, with Viv being at Manchester. She's still with me most of the time, so Viv's not so happy about that. But
I know, I bet. I think what happens is whoever the dog is with more, they become more attached to.
She would say I'm favorite, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Like, even I'm home more right now than my husband Pat, and Finn always chooses me to cuddle with, even though he's with me all day, and I'm like secretly so happy about it.
No, I am. I'm so smug. When people ask the question and then Viv has to say me, it's my favorite answer.
I know, you're just like, it's me. Okay, we need to get into the soccer, but of course I loved hearing about Myle, so thank you for sharing all of that. All right, I know that you grew up in a small town in England and that your first soccer experience was actually playing with boys. And so I read this story that your mom brought you to a local training and asked the coach if you were welcome to join the session. And the coach said, of course she is, but the boys are a little bit rough. Will she be all right? And then when your mom came back to get you, the coach said Beth was rougher than the boys and she's a good footballer. And I just love this story so much. I want to know where your feistiness came from.
I would say my mum was fairly feisty, to be honest. But she took me to my first session. I think I played a lot of like heads and volleys in my free time on the local pitch with the boys that I used to call for in the village. So then I went to the official session with them, and it just felt normal for me, like, to be like that. Like, that's all I knew. So I went in, and I mean, when I play football, like, I don't think about anything else. I just get stuck in. So I was there to play every position, get stuck in. I just wanted the ball. And my mum knew exactly what I was like, so she was quite happy to leave me for an hour and come back, and probably knew that was the outcome. So I think she was quite smug when she walked away, and I was pretty good on the pitch with all the boys. So I think it was ingrained in me for quite a long time because that's all I knew.
Yeah, I know. I think my sister always takes credit for like toughening me up. I think you definitely like learn it at home first. Like, my sister used to like shove my face in the snow and just like push me around. And then I think as I got to be like good at soccer, my sister was always very much like, well, I helped, like, I toughened you up. I taught you the hard way. You went on to sign with Sunderland at age 16. It was a club close to your home. At that time, what would you have said was your dream for football? Like, did you at that time envision playing for the Lionesses and winning the Euros, or did that path not become real to you until later?
I wouldn't say it was the top of my list of things that were possible at that point. I signed when I was 16 for Sunderland, but I actually went to university and studied sport development. And I studied 3 years there, and my final year of university is the year I actually became professional. It was the year that players started becoming professional. At Sunderland, they didn't have the full backing yet, so half the team was semi-pros and some were professional full-time. I think when that hit, that's when I started thinking, actually, I'm a full-time pro now. I have the facilities. I have the access to be able to, make myself better. And I was obviously lucky enough that I played for. We got promoted with Sunderland, and I managed to play a year at Sunderland in the top league in England, and finished top scorer that year. So it worked out pretty well for me. But I'm so happy that I had the chance to go to university and do that as like something that I have to this day, even though I'm still playing professionally. So some young girls now have the ability to go straight into it, and they miss that side of things. So I feel a little bit blessed that I was able to do both still, and obviously pursue a career and then push on. And when I moved to Arsenal, obviously it was more of a dream for me to then be able to go and play for England and represent England, and then push on for World Cups and Euros after that.
When you signed for Arsenal, I know it was kind of this moment of like you were kind of leaving, being closer to home and moving into this full-time professional environment. Sounds like it was kind of a big change. And I know that you were like, I want to say a little bit intimidated about the idea of moving to London, stepping outside your comfort zone. So I want to go back to that time in your life and see if you can like take us there, the emotions about moving kind of to this huge city. What was the catalyst for that move and that change? And what were you most afraid of?
Yeah, it was funny. The year before I actually came to Arsenal, they came in for me and wanted to sign me. And I chose, and it was obviously a little bit of a risk at the time. I chose to stay at Sunderland an extra year and know that I was probably going to get more playing minutes with Sunderland in the top league and see where I stood. And obviously I had a good season, so it worked out really well for me. If I didn't, then Arsenal may not have come the following season. But I don't know if that was a little bit of protection for myself to be like, actually, I'm not ready to leave my comfort zone yet. But the year I came in 2017, it felt more comfortable. Sunderland actually took away of funding towards the women's team, so everyone dropped that down to semi-pro, so it kind of made the process a little bit easier for me to then shunt me in the direction of coming to London. I've very much been a home girl. I love being around my family. So the idea of coming, I was like, I love Arsenal. I love Kelly Smith. She was my idol growing up, and I wanted to get the chance to play with her, but she actually retired the year I came, which was... I still blame her to this day for doing that. Like, she did it on purpose, but and she blames me for coming that she had to then leave. So
yeah,
it's quite apt that it happened, really. But it was daunting. I had to move into a house of three other players and myself. They all had their routine. I was actually injured when I signed. I'd hurt my ankle ligaments, so I had still a few weeks of rehab. So I still wasn't fully integrated into the group and training. So I found it a really difficult transition coming here. And my first month was really difficult. I then got into the squad, tried really hard, probably overcooked it, and then broke my collarbone. I was out another 6 weeks. So my start to my Arsenal career wasn't smooth sailing, but I'm here 8 years down the road, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So
no,
it was meant to be, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes the tough starts turn into... I mean, it's turned into such an incredible career for you at Arsenal. I know you were also, during that kind of transition time, kind of changing positions. At Sunderland, you were more of a striker, number 9, and at Arsenal, you've been more of a winger. And I've read that you've spoken about how that experience as a 9 has helped you become a better player out wide. Like, you know where the 9s want the ball delivered. So I want to hear from you a little bit about this, like this idea that you've kind of created your own style of play as a winger and used all of these experiences that you've had to bring that into now your play. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, obviously I got signed as a 9. I've actually played more of my career as a 9 than I have as a winger, to be fair, but Viv signed and Viv pushed me out of the 9 role, which is quite apt as well. But like you said, I think as a 9, I loved going in behind. I loved linking up. I loved being around the box and trying to have a little bit of composure in front of goal. And I think that's helped me in my wide role of being like you said, I know what across to put in for a 9 that they appreciate being put in there, and the areas it can come in at, and the movement that I know a 9 can make to then try and read what they're trying to do. So I would say in that sense, it really helped me like adapt my role as a wide player. I played quite a lot of time on the left. I've been playing a lot more as a right winger now. But I like coming inside. I obviously like comfortable in being in the middle of the field and being in the box and trying to be composed and finish more naturally. So I think it helps both roles that I can play inside, outside, wide, central. So yeah, I would say it's very much helped adapt both roles into one that I've took the most out of that position now.
Yeah, for sure. You've become such an incredible winger, and I think it's obvious how comfortable you are in front of goal as well. That goal you scored the other day where you inside the box juggled it up over somebody's head and finished a volley yourself. Like, the goal was incredible and just shows how versatile you are both out wide and centrally. I want to come back to Arsenal in just a minute, but I mentioned up top that you were part of the Lionesses team that won the Euros at home in 2022. A particularly impressive tournament for you. You had 6 goals and 5 assists. I kind of just want to hear about that tournament as a whole. I mean, as your team kept winning, the excitement from the whole country just kept building and building. And I want to know what that felt like for you guys.
Obviously, we knew we'd sold out stadiums. The final at Wembley had like nearly 90,000 people there. I think we did very well at the time to keep ourselves in our squad, our bubble. We turned up to games, we performed, and then we did our stuff off the pitch. We refocused, we recovered, we did all the right things. And until we'd finished the tournament, I don't think we quite knew how big it was. But the effect, obviously, that it's had on the nation and football in England especially has been insane. You dream of it going like that, but you think, oh, do people just buzz around it for a few months, a few weeks, and then it just disappears again? But obviously, people have really been invested in the game, and you could feel it was different at games, but at the time, we didn't actually realise how big it was outside of our football bubble. And then obviously when we got the chance to celebrate, at Trafalgar Square and it sold out with people screaming and shouting, I think that's when we were a little bit like, okay, I think we've done something here. But yeah, it was an insane tournament. So nice that we got the chance to do it in our home country in front of our home fans, and it couldn't have gone any better. A final against Germany and beating Germany as well, so that's always nice.
I know, it was incredible. And do you how do you feel the effects of it now? I mean, it's been 2 years. It isn't one of those situations where people lost interest. Like, the game in England is growing so much. Arsenal's actually a huge kind of part of that. You guys, when you play at the Emirates, you sell that out. There's record crowds all the time. Like, in what ways do you feel now the after effects of the Euros?
Yeah, I think obviously at a club like Arsenal, we've had such amazing backing from the club. They've helped, trailblaze in the direction that we want to. We're playing at, the Emirates, a 60,000 odd seater stadium. We're getting regular crowds there. Obviously, we're the first team in the league to then be pushing it for all our home fixtures. So it's been, in that sense, incredible. And the fans have been incredible in pushing that and, creating an atmosphere. And it's very different. I think, I've been to a lot of men's games and obviously played in a lot of games for the women's team, and there's such a family nice feel around the games and the excitement you can feel from the kids watching and stuff like that. So it's been incredible, and hopefully we're helping push, other teams to then be like us, to then make it even better. So it's nice seeing, Chelsea's and Man City's and teams, Man United's and Tottenham's all playing in, the big stadiums.
Yeah.
Getting the chance to do that. So hopefully we can keep pushing that forward. Because it's interesting, you speak to some of the Spanish girls who won a World Cup in our team, Mariona and Cordina. And it hasn't had the same effect in Spain.
Right.
They have home games and there's still not the buzz around what England have done. So there's still such a long way in the game generally to go. And it's so sad to know they've done something so amazing and it's not had as big as effect as it has here in England.
Yeah, that is so interesting. You're mentioning your Arsenal teammate, Mariona Caldente, who's Spanish. Do you have any insight? Does she have any insight as to why it feels like in the US, the 1999 Women's World Cup was the catalyst for so much growth and really started having some professional leagues, and now the NWSL is here, and the success of the national team has really bolstered that. England, similarly, and especially in 2022, you had this huge boom. Do you have any ideas on why other countries aren't adopting the kind of frenzy as quickly?
I think they obviously knew they'd done something amazing at a World Cup. Obviously, it was tainted by a lot of stuff that went around it, which is such a shame. I think, you know, we've got the full backing of the FA, you know, over here in England, and I think they struggled with, you know, that in Spain. You know, Barcelona fans, they both played there, and they're incredible. They love the game, they love football, they love coming to those matches. But on a bigger scale, like, it's Barcelona and Real Madrid who get it and no one else.
Right.
So I don't think they quite understand why it's still not hit where it probably should have, which is such a shame. But hopefully it can at some point take the way we have, obviously.
For sure. I mean, Spain plays such beautiful soccer.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's inevitable. Okay, Beth, 2022 for you was a year of really high highs and really low lows. There was the incredible Euros win. You had a stellar season with Arsenal, but in November, you tore your ACL. And you've spoken so much about your ACL injury. You're so open about it, which I think speaks to your understanding of how important it is to talk about it and study it, research it. For female footballers, tearing your ACL is so common, but it's almost like this taboo thing. When somebody goes down injured, everybody's mind immediately goes to, did she do her ACL? But we're also afraid to say it. I've never torn my ACL, and I want to know, when you heard you had torn it, what did that feel like?
Yeah, so the day I actually did it, it was a feeling in my knee when I did it that I'd never felt before. I've been very lucky in my career that I've not had too many injuries till then. It then wore off a little bit. Obviously, my ACL no longer was attached, so it snapping hurt. But after that, it was obviously, there was nothing attached anymore. So I actually got up and walked off, and I was like, it feels fairly stable. Like, I think I'm going to be okay. Maybe I've annoyed something, but I don't think it's the dreaded ACL. And then, yeah, I got the scan the next day, and within, I think, 20 minutes of my scan, they got the results back, and were like, you've ruptured your ACL. And I was just like, I didn't believe it because I had no swelling, I had not much pain. Like, I was like, I'm fine. Like, I think they've got it wrong. But obviously, 10 months down the road when I'd come back, obviously they hadn't got it wrong, and I'd had reconstruction. And yeah, it was frustrating. I think mine was a little bit different to most. Like, when you look into research, a lot happened more early in games or non-contacts. Mine was contact in 93rd minute, so mine went against the normal correlation of how you would do your ACL. So obviously, I'm like, if I hadn't have gone for that ball, would I have done it ever? You know, which is frustrating, but it made me learn a lot about myself, both mentally and physical, in the process. And yeah, I'd like to think I've come back stronger and had the time to home in on other things that I maybe couldn't have done while playing. So I guess I very much believe things happen for a reason, and it was my time to have this not much enjoyable injury.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I know that your partner Beth Mead tore ACL just like about a month after you. Were you, as you both went through that process together, were you, I imagine you were a little bit ahead of her. Like, did you fill that role of kind of guiding her for what was to come and preparing her for those same steps and help her through that emotionally?
Pretty much. I think, yeah, I was a month ahead of her. I think obviously what I'd explained to her when I did mine, she felt, so she knew it instantly. She was like, I've done it. Like, everything you said, I felt. It's funny though, I think I was the most mobile out of the two of us, and I was only like a week post-op. But I had to be the most mobile out of the two of us, which is not ideal in just coming back from. But we're competitive, we were good for each other. Like, when she felt something in a certain area, is this uncomfortable, is this? And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. Like, that's what I felt. You're fine. I'm a less overthinker than Viv is. So I think that helped me give her a bit of comfort in the process, and things that I maybe didn't do perfectly, she could do a little bit better, and vice versa. And we were very competitive in things. You know, we had jumps tests when we were coming back, and I'm like, oh, mine's higher than yours, or yours is higher than mine. And I'm like, of course it is, but it helped us through. And although it was a pain in the ass, we got each other through, and it was company, obviously, in the rehab. So
yeah, that's key. That's like a key partnership dynamic, is to have an overthinker and then somebody who's like a little bit more chill, would you say?
I'm very much chill compared to Viv. Very much so.
I think I'm more on Viv's wavelength. I'm the overthinker and like the overanalyzer. That's really interesting. Beth, shortly after you tore your ACL, your mother passed away after battling ovarian cancer. I can't even imagine the pain that you went through and the loss that you must still be dealing with. I'm so sorry. How did you get through that time in your life, and did your perspective on life and football change at all going through all of this at once?
I think my perspective changed very quickly. Like I said to you earlier, I do believe things happen for a reason. I got my surgery in December, and I managed to go home after that and spent like a month of time, which I wouldn't have got with my mum, because I would have been playing football and she wouldn't have allowed me not to play football in that time. So I feel very lucky in a sense that I managed to get them last few, weeks with her before she passed away. But my perspective very much did change. Like, I'm sat there buzzing that I could lift my leg up straight again, because I was trying to work my muscles and stuff like that. And my mum's ultimately fighting something that she could never come back from. And I'm like, I can come back from this injury within 9-10 months. And my mum can. So in perspective, when I'm sat there saying I'm in pain, my mum was in 10 times more than that. So I think that pushed me and motivated me to be like, do you know what? This is just an injury. Yes, I miss football and I can't play football, but yeah, ultimately I still get to do my football career and still get to live life, which my mum doesn't get to do anymore. So in that sense, it very much put life into perspective for me. And my mum was a big part of my footballing journey and my life in general. I was very close to my mum, and I was motivated to get back on the pitch to make her proud again. And I think that was a nice, motivator, knowing she'd be shouting at me if I was sat there slumped around and sad and angry. And it very much changed my perspective on, you should obviously just live every moment as if it is your last, because you don't know what's around the corner, unfortunately, in life, and that is life. So that was my take on my injury, and obviously processing that with my mum and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's an incredible perspective. I really admire everything that you just said. When you did get back on the field, it was about 11 months after your injury. What did you feel returning to the pitch for the first time?
It was funny. I actually came back at the Emirates, which is the pitch I actually did my knee on. But I was like a kid at Christmas, be able to get the chance to go and play football again in front of, I think we had 35,000 fans there. We were 1-0 down actually at the time against Aston Villa. I thought, oh, no pressure then. But I managed to come on and I got the assist for the winning goal and we won 2-1. So
Classic.
I was pretty happy with that comeback. And the noise from the stadium when I came back on the pitch was one that I'll never forget. It's a feeling that I'll never forget, and it's a nice appreciation that the fans give that for me coming back.
That's incredible. In terms of your ACL injury, did you feel yourself quickly after your return, or did it take, like, how long was it until you felt fully like you were like flying again?
I would say I felt pretty good fairly quickly, but again, I think that helped with my mindset. I just got myself stuck in. I worked hard in my rehab. I knew I was in a space that I was back and I was ready to go again. And don't get me wrong, it's not a nice injury to come back from, and you're not going to be perfect straight away. But the season I had from coming back from that injury, I was pretty proud of, considering. I still managed to score and have an effect on games, which is what I did when I left. So I was pretty happy about that. But I would say, considering, I was pretty proud of the place I came back in after such a big injury, because it's not always easy. There's a few setbacks. Obviously, Bivla told you about hers. She was in and out a little bit with her knee and didn't feel herself. So I feel like I was on the lucky end of coming back and feeling good.
That's incredible. Okay, so Arsenal won the WSL title in 2018-2019, and in many ways have been really pushing to get back on top of the league ever since. So I want to know your team this year, looking out. It feels from the outside like there's been a lot of changes in the league. There's just this big question mark, like who's going to win the WSL? Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City. There's all of this swirling about. I want to know from your perspective, What is it about your team this year that makes you think this could be your year?
I think if we manage and look after the team that we have a lot of good depth. We have a lot of quality within the squad, and it's a long season. We have a lot of games to play. We've got Champions League group stages now that add 6 more games to the calendar. So it's going to be a long season. We're going to need the squad, and I think we've got a very good squad this season to be able to compete for the title. But don't get me wrong, the teams in the league are getting so much more better. Like, we've got to be on it every game. But we have the ability to do that, but it's not always probably going to look as pretty as people would like it to look. We would like it to look pretty and feel really nice and comfortable as players, you know that. But yes, we have the ability to do that, but we've got to be consistent throughout the season doing that.
Right. I mean, 3 points is 3 points. You mentioned the pressure to perform well, to win games, to max out these points. As one of the most experienced Arsenal players, do you find that you're able to handle that pressure and kind of take some of that burden off maybe some of your younger teammates? How do you see yourself as a leader within the Arsenal squad?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously I've had the pleasure of playing at this level for quite a long time now. Ultimately, how I think about it, it's another football game. We do what we love to do. We're good at what we do. It's just a different opponent in front of us, and we've got to adapt to that. And I try my best to make people feel as comfortable as possible on the pitch, and try and get the best out of my teammates, because I know that then they'll get the best out of me. And I think that's something throughout the season we're going to have to push, and all our leaders within the group are going to have to bring that out as well.
For sure. Well, this interview is coming out just days before the game against Chelsea. As I mentioned, Arsenal and Chelsea have been battling it out at the top of the table for years. And I think, Beth, you mentioned every team in the WSL now is really good and really difficult to play against, but there is something incredibly special about an Arsenal-Chelsea matchup. At this point in the season, there's 3 points on the table. What are you most excited about for this game against Chelsea coming up?
I think an Arsenal-Chelsea game can always be very hard to predict. It can go very many ways. There's a lot of tactics and quality on show. There's 2 very good teams that are really going head-to-head and trying to play at the top level, and it's exciting to be involved in them games, especially obviously the game coming up being at the Emirates. Hopefully we can get a big sellout crowd, get people to the game, so it'd be great to see people there and come along, and I'm pretty sure you'll see a very good football match along the way.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I'm really excited to watch. I will be cheering for you this season. I'm excited to watch you guys play in Champions League. It's been really great to have you on the show today. I have always loved watching you play, but talking to you today, I mean, even just preparing for this and learning more about your story and then getting this opportunity to speak with you about it, I really do admire you so much for the perspective that you're bringing to each and every situation that you're facing. So thank you so much for joining me, and good luck this season.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Beth.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you all so much for listening. Beth was obviously so fun to talk to. I was clearly really excited to ask her about Myle, the dog that Beth and Viv Mead have together. I can't imagine that Beth expected my first question for her to be, tell me about your dog's personality. Is she girly? But I just think that that's what the people really wanted to know, so I have to live with it. Please make sure you're subscribed to our podcast feed and our YouTube channel. When you subscribe, you'll get a notification whenever we have a new episode, and that really helps us know that our listeners have every opportunity to listen. Also, please follow along with us across all of our social media at Women's Game MIB on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. Next week's guest is actually another Arsenal player. It's Emily Fox from America. I just spoke with Foxy, and she may or may not drop her skincare routine that everybody asked for, so listen to me. You should definitely tune in next Thursday for that episode. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We'll see you soon.